Hello and welcome to The Menu, Monocle Radio's food and drink program. I'm your host, Chiara Rimella. Coming up, we meet acclaimed chef Enrique Olvera to find out more about his new book, Sunny Days, Taco Nights.
That was the reasoning of doing this book, no? It was like saying okay, there's this street culture that is amazing and diverse and fun and sunny, but there's also a way of doing that in a house context.
Also on the program, we head to Slovenia to learn how the nation's winemakers are championing orange wines.
The old guys always use 1, 2, 3, 4 days of skin contact and you get the spontaneous fermentation.
Plus, Fernando Augusto Pacheco is in Paris to meet Alessandra Montagne. All that here on The Menu on Monocle Radio. Chefs will often say that the simplest dishes are the hardest to perfect, and few meals prove this more than the humble taco. Whilst the dish might conjure up images of smoky street stalls and juicy late-night snacks, acclaimed Mexican chef Enrique Olvera has spent much of his career exploring its other guises. From elevating it for fine dining to adapting it with global flavors and creating unique recipes for the home cook, for Enrique, the taco serves not just as a dish, but as an approach to eating. In his new book, Sunny Days, Taco Nights, Olvera champions the different forms of the Mexican staple, from classic shrimp or pork versions to the lesser-known Korean-inspired variety. In his recipes, the taco is used as a vessel for creativity, flavor, and, of course, joy. Earlier, Enrique joined me in the studio here at Midori House in London to discuss the importance of sourcing quality ingredients, the art of simplicity, and why a taco shouldn't be confined to the street.
As a chef, when you train, you think that sophistication is making things complicated. And I think as you age, you understand that things that are elegant tend to be simple. They're also timeless, no? And to me, the tortilla belongs in the past, it belongs in the present, and it definitely belongs in the future. I'm interested in those things, no? Things that have transcendence and that belong in today, no? Because I think that's the best way to live, is focusing on today. So tacos is obviously an expression of the tortilla. I always say tacos is a way of eating. It's not necessarily a preparation. You can make a taco out of anything, and that was the reasoning of doing this book, no? It was like saying okay, there's this street culture that is amazing and diverse and fun and sunny, but there's also a way of doing that in a house context. No, tacos shouldn't belong in the street only. We were one of the first restaurants to put tacos in a fine dining context, and now I think as it comes full circle, people are starting to maybe cook tacos at home, and the idea was to make those street tacos in your house.
See, that's where I'm very fascinated, because in the introduction to the book at some point there is a hint to this idea that there is the taco of the street, the taco of the restaurant, and the taco of the home. Where do you think, differ from one another? And I suppose what makes a taco of the home? Because the suggestion with the book, I suppose, is that a lot of these tacos have appeared on your menus, but now you're encouraging people to try their hand at it. Did you have to make any amends? Because surely they can't, or can they replicate exactly, or should they want to try to replicate exactly the experience of a taco in a restaurant or a taco on the street at home?
Yeah, that's something that we also questioned ourselves when we were making the book. I remember the first time we were taking some pictures, Axel, the chef that works with me at the lab, was plating and he was trying to make everything perfect. And I told him, please stop. No, it's a book for the home cooks. They shouldn't be worried about precise knife cuts. No, it should look natural. No, and people shouldn't be focusing on that, because that really doesn't have an effect on the taco itself. The only reason for making even dicing is you want even cooking, but aesthetically has no value. So the difference, I would say, between a taco in the street, a home, and a restaurant is what are you focusing on? No, I think at home the focus is to do something that is delicious and you're taking care of someone. No, you want to nourish either your body or your family, and I think that is the focus. I think in the streets a lot of the time the focus is on flavor, so big, bold flavors. And people say a flavorful taco, no, is normally like the salsa, because if you think about it, the tacos tend to be neutral and a lot of the punch is on the salsas. And then I think in restaurants it's about quality and precision. No, it should be about how you source. And because you have the possibility of sourcing the freshest and more seasonal ingredients, a taco program in a restaurant must definitely have some kind of movement throughout the year. Whereas if you go to taqueria doesn't necessarily move. No, it's the same taco year round and almost the same salsa, and you don't want it to move.
Tacos have been part of your restaurant, not from the very beginning, but certainly integral for a long time. And I think it's interesting that now they appear almost inevitably in many contemporary Mexican restaurants that have run with, obviously, the gentrification, in inverted commas, of it. What do you think the next step is, now that the taco is so intrinsic to this idea of the modern contemporary Mexican menu? Does it need further reinvention?
I mean, I think tacos have movement, like humans have movement, no? And with migration come different ingredients, no? If you think about the most classical tacos, there's always things that are not from Mexico, no? The pastor is the best example, no? A kebab made into like a very Mexican proposition. So I think tacos will keep moving as the culture moves. And also each taco is different for every family, you know? Like if you've lived somewhere else, maybe you come back and you do like a very different taco. I love, for example, personally, because my story with the taco, my personal story is it's linked to Japan, to my many travels to Japan. And that's when I realized that you can have sushi that was street sushi or Michelin star $300 meal with sushi. So I think this range is what attracts me as well, no? That you can have a taco that is delicious in the street, or you can also have, like I said, like really well-sourced corn, no? That is an expression of the terroir. And then if you're using like the best quality fish, like what's the difference between a sushi and a taco? It's just what you're placing the fish on, no? So I think, to me, that is the beauty about it. And I don't know if the future, but the present would be also the same thing, no? Like saying we can source beautifully, you can add your own ideas, your own values to the taco, and the taco is able to embrace all of that.
I want to go back to that idea of placing so much of the focus in this present day of the taco on the sourcing and the care for the ingredient. Monocle's writer, Claudia Jacob, was very lucky to come visit you recently, and her report of Casao is actually in the July-August issue of Monocle. And there she found this almost paradise of yours that you've built. Can you tell us more about that project, what it means to you, and why have you chosen to really take matters in your own hands when it comes to growing as well?
I think when I started cooking, I was interested. I thought cooking was about technique. When I went to culinary school and worked in a few restaurants and then opened Pujol, I would say like the first 10 years of my career, I was concerned about creativity. I was concerned about technique, and obviously no ingredients were there, but I was not paying as much attention. And 10 years later, I started focusing a lot on ingredients. I realized that if you had good ingredients and you were curating and sourcing properly, you didn't have to be a genius. And the best things that I've tasted were from nature. And then the ingredients took us to the farmers. And that changed like my life completely, you know, because I understood the knowledge of the people that grow the ingredients. So a few years ago, I knew that was my path. No, I as a cook, I had been a cook, a restaurateur, and then maybe like the later part of my life would have to be more connected to growing more than cooking. So this is like a little experiment. I'm not gonna become a farmer, not yet. But I also don't believe in like like creating an empire and then do it as an inheritance to my kids. But I do think of this place that is magical, that we planted fruit trees, and I can maybe imagine my grandchildren playing there with trees that are 50 years old, and I'm composting with the same fruit that they're doing now, because all the trees that we have, I was there this weekend and the apples were great and I ate one, but most of them I drop them in the soil because I'm trying to do something that will last more than a restaurant group. No?
There is a definite sense of calm to hearing you talk about this, and this idea of legacy seems to be very important to this project specifically. But I wonder how much you're thinking about your culinary legacy at this point, not to be too serious about it. And this is a very funny and sunny book, but what do you think remains, or what do you like to believe remains as, or will remain as, your legacy in culinary terms, in terms of what you've brought to the Mexican scene? Because, you know, it's inevitable to think of you when we look at the scene today. What do you perceive as your proudest achievement, be it a dish or a moment, and something that might even be appearing in here? Maybe it is just a humble taco.
Yeah, that almost never crosses my mind, only maybe in interviews, but it's not on my mind constantly. I think the idea was never to transcend. Like I said, I believe in today, no? So obviously, the more todays we have, the more responsibility we have and the more knowledge we have, but there's not necessarily like an overview of, like I don't, even though I, like for example, this house I've planned for the future, I'm enjoying it today. And I'm more interested in the process than in the result. No, so even now when we're making dishes, we just changed not only the menu, but the way we format the menu at Pujol, at our main restaurant in Mexico City. And I was telling Daniel, the chef, no, because he was like very worried about creativity. And I told him, like, don't worry about that. No, worry about sourcing. No, and then if you source properly and you cook with good intention, something beautiful is going to come out. You don't have to be worried about like presentation or combination of like things come out naturally. No, for example, we're doing now like the Pacific coast of Mexico. That's the region that we're working at, and there's birria, which is like a classical taco. We did one there, and we just did like a birria with mussels instead of lamb, and it's just very simple. And then the planing is just like putting it on a beautiful piece of ceramic from José Noé Suro, and when you're plating, you put it carefully, no? And I think like achieving that level of confidence in the product is something that takes time, and it also I think takes like the possibility of withdrawing yourself from the process and just leaving the process.
Chef Enrique Olvera there, speaking to me in the studio at Midori House. This is The Menu. With summer in full swing, many of us are tempted into picking a lighter shade of wine to enjoy on a warm sunny evening. In recent years, the popularity of orange wine has kept soaring, but for some winemakers in Slovenia, these varieties are hardly a new phenomenon. The skin contact technique that creates the amber-hued drinks is part of a long-standing tradition of winemaking in the region. To find out more, Guy de Launey, Monocle's Balkans correspondent, headed to the capital of Ljubljana. He brings us this report.
Every year, Slovenia's winemakers get together in the capital Ljubljana for an event known as Martinovanje. It's one of the country's merriest occasions. The winemakers from all over the country set out their stalls on the cobbled streets, and it's the perfect opportunity for people to get a taste of the best that Slovenia's vineyards have to offer. Crisp white Malvasia, powerful tannic Refošk reds, and then there are the wines which don't fit into either of those main categories.
I fell in love with orange wine in 2004, about 20 years ago. and I wanted from the first beginning to produce orange wine.
To some, orange wine might be a relatively recent phenomenon, but Andrei Gordia insists that the technique is as old as winemaking itself. He runs a winery that carries his family's name.
I come from the Istrian Peninsula region. We have the most white varieties, Malvasia. The old guys always use 1, 2, 3, 4 days of skin contact, and you get the spontaneous fermentation. And in fact, this was orange wine, and this was produced since always. And this taste was quite familiar for me.
In fact, winemakers like Andrei are sometimes reluctant to call their products orange wine. They prefer the term natural because the colour isn't their prime motivation. The unusual shade is a byproduct of leaving the skins on the grapes while they ferment. The naturally occurring yeast triggers the process, and there are no added ingredients. Andrei and others have discovered that varying the length of this skin contact can have a significant and unpredictable impact on flavour.
I produced my first orange wine for the market in 2007, and I went to 3 weeks of skin contact to see how it goes. And then later, 2008, 4 weeks. We work today on 4 to 6 months of skin contact in clay amphoras. You never know what will happen. Let's wait what will be the taste of this year, no? And you always wait for something new.
So tell us about this one, which we've got in front of us.
Yeah, it's called amphora because it's produced in clay amphoras. The clay amphoras are buried in the soil. We pick the grapes, for example, for this wine, not in very high maturity, to not have a lot of alcohol. We pick Malvasia, Pinot Gris and Muscat Blanc. After 2 years, we move the wines in the bottle, and that's the whole process. Not filtrated, not stabilized to anything. You can try, you will see.
So I would say it's sort of a golden straw colour in hue. It's not a bright orange, but rather it's a lot paler than that. It is, as you say, slightly cloudy. It's not a floral bouquet at all. It's reminding me of something like honey. I'm just going to turn to my redoubtable producer, Lisa. How would you describe this particular one?
It's light. I only had orange wine a couple of times, but it's been quite acidic. This one is not acidic, but it's not sweet. But maybe we should ask the expert how he would describe it.
I think you're right. What are you aiming for with this particular wine, Andrei?
The shortest way from grapes to between juice to wine. I can feel just the bitey part of the grapes. Here's just the straight way of the grapes, bam, 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 produce it, and for me it's super drinkable.
A lot of mango inside, a lot of the passion fruits like this. This is pure party wine to drink it by the bottles.
That last voice you heard was Yuri Osole. He's the co-owner and sommelier of the Ljubljana restaurant Tabar, and he's one of the country's foremost connoisseurs of natural wines. At his stylish but relaxed venue, you can sample the products of a wide range of Slovenian producers by the glass or the bottle. So if you want to dip your toes in the orange wine lake, this is the place. Just take Yuri's recommendation.
Mostly foreigners are more reacting to it because it is something a little bit more unusual to them. Slovenians, of course, they enjoy it, but it took some while through the years to really appreciate it, what we have in our country.
There was something of a buzz around orange wines. It was in danger of being a bit too hipster, possibly. On the one hand, I can see that's exposure, but on the other hand, I can see where it might be problematic.
Some of the hipster wines, they think it's in, and the prices are quite high, and the wines are not drinkable. There's only an excuse, this is natural wine. It's not. It's a little bit more to that.
And what is it for you that appeals? You talked about it being natural, you talked about it being local.
I'm a little bit selfish about our cart here because all the wines here is the wines that I like, that I enjoy to drink, that I like to drink. So, this is basically the whole philosophy. This is a wine that I really enjoy. We represent almost everybody who is really in the philosophy and the idea that we gather here. If it's possible, which in Slovenia mostly is, it's always the best to visit the producer, so to see what the philosophy is, and especially to see how they work in the vineyard.
We're just a few kilometres from Slovenia's Istrian coast here at Uroš Klabjan's vineyard. Uroš is the latest member of the Klabjan family to make wines with strictly natural methods. So if you're looking for terroir, you've come to the right place.
You achieve different characters, which we like. We cannot standard everything. That's not interesting for us. When you take a glass of that wine, you realize that it's something enjoyable, full of life, of energy, of informations that those information case are coming from the vintage, from the temperature, from the rain, and everything else.
The wine cellar is on the same farm as the grapes, typical of Slovenia's small producers. But larger industrial winemakers have also got in on the orange wine trend. And Uroš worries that this could obscure what natural wines are really all about.
Everybody can do everything, but then on the market is a big confusion. From which grape, how was made the grape, who is the winemaker?
I mean, this is the thing. You'll get, as I say, the Instagram phenomenon. People, oh, it looks beautiful environment. Look at me.
For me, the winemaker, which is all the time on the Instagram, is not a winemaker. You have to be in the vineyard. Okay, we are a little bit, eccentric. We don't have social media. We don't have Facebook, so we don't have Instagram. We don't have a website.
And what Uroš lacks in social media, he makes up for in international orders, with customers in more than 20 countries and special products for connoisseurs in Japan and South Korea. Add in the success of other small winemakers, and you'll find that Slovenia's natural wines are going a lot further these days, whether you call them orange or not. For Monocle, in Istria and Ljubljana, I'm Guy de Launey.
Thank you, Guy. You're listening to The Menu. And finally, we're heading to Paris to meet Brazilian chef Alessandra Montagne. Born and raised in Rio, Alessandra moved to France in the late 90s to pursue her dream of becoming a professional chef. She began by cooking for home dinner parties, but quickly rose up the ranks and is now the owner and head chef of 2 acclaimed restaurants in the French capital, Nosso and Tempero, with plenty of new ventures on the horizon, including an upcoming opening at the Louvre. Earlier, Monocle's Fernando Augusto Pacheco sat down with Alessandra to learn more about her career so far and how her Brazilian roots inspire her cooking.
First, I opened Tempero in 2012. I opened a first restaurant. His name is Tempero. It's a good very little restaurant. It's 20 place. It's my first restaurant in Paris. Before that, I worked with William Lodoy, Adeline Gratta, Yannick Aleno. So I decided to open a restaurant because it was very difficult for me with children, and I was 13, and the middle of kitchen in this time, it was so machist and difficult, and the chef was violent with me, and it's unacceptable. So I decided to open my restaurant because with my rules. So I opened first Tempero, and 10 years after I found this place and I fell in love because the place, it's very, very beautiful. I have a natural place with a lot of plants. I fell in love, and I feel very, very good here in this place. Though I bought Nosso 1 week before COVID. So I sold the Tempero, and my money was in bank, and I bought Nosso, and everything is stopped in the world. And I have no money, no Nosso, no Tempero, nothing.
Wow.
For 1 year. I'm sorry.
That's crazy. Here we are. It's a success. It's a Michelin-starred restaurant. People are so interested.
Yes, it was completely crazy. So I found another job in the pharmaceutical industry. I became general director in the pharmaceutical industry, and it was completely crazy for 1 year and a half. And 2021, I opened Nosso.
Question about the cuisine. Of course, you're Brazilian, and I know we love Brazilian food. There is a lot of Brazilian elements, but you also mix, there's some Asian elements here and there. Explain to us what type of food can people eat here?
So in Nosso, the first thing you eat here, it's a pão de queijo, because I am mineira.
The best food in Brazil, if I may say.
Yes, we eat very good in Minas Gerais. I was born in Rio. So I grew up in Minas Gerais, in the middle of nowhere. So I made a pão de queijo with my grandmother recipe, so I can tell you and give you, because it's a very good and easy recipe. So I put caviar with pão de queijo. It's very nice. Pão de queijo is caviar, French caviar. And the second thing you eat is coxinha, because I sold the coxinha when I live in Brazil. It's my job.
Coxinha is chicken pastry, for those who don't never tried it.
Yes, it's chicken pastry. It's very, very good. So it's my recipe. Yes.
Alessandra, this year is a very important year for Brazil here in France. You know, our presidents have met, Macron and Lula. There's a lot of cultural things. Do you feel there's a lot of interest in your restaurants this year as well?
Yes. I have a lot of Brazilian here, and President Lula invited me to eat with him and President Macron in Élysée. So I go to Élysée, and it was a very, very nice moment for me, because I love this place. It's very beautiful, and I can see a lot of people and friends, and I feel my work in France for 25 years. I can go there because I work very hard. So it was a very emotional moment for me, because like a key in my head, a turning key. Oh wow! So it was hard. It was very, very hard for a lot of years. I was focused in my work, focus. And one moment, ploofed, everybody, oh, come in here, come in. I know you, you very girl, you power. Me? Oh, no. I'm just a cooking. I'm just a chef.
Good chef, a good chef. And this is your moment, because you have Nosso and Tempero, and now
Louvre.
The Louvre as well.
Yes, I have a restaurant.
How does it work? Tell us about the Louvre.
It's a crazy history. I have a chef, a little bit friend, but it's a good chef for me. It's Alain Ducasse. He invites me to take a part of a team. He think, I have 15 people, chefs, young chef, or not very young, maybe, but chef in France. It's have my successes. So he chose a lot of chefs, and he chose 5 chefs, especially for this big project in the Louvre Museum. So into the Louvre, not in Carousel, into the Louvre, they have 5 restaurants. So you made a project together. This project takes 2 years of works and answer and the picture and the taste of cooking, a lot of things. We win this project. They have maybe 300 chefs, and we was finalist, and we win. So now I have into the Louvre Museum 1 big restaurant. I cannot tell now the menu and the name, because Louvre want to tell this in few months, maybe September, October, and my restaurant open in November, December.
Fernando, thank you. And that's all for this edition of The Menu. From next week, we'll be going on pause. We hope that you keep enjoying delicious meals and brilliant cocktails in the meantime. I am Chiarimella. This programme, as usual, was produced by Monica Lillis, and our sound engineer was Flynn Simons. Thanks so much for listening, and from the team here at The Menu, goodbye and bon appétit.